Good morning, y'all. This is Lucien Smith in for Paul Gallo here on the Gallo Radio Show on SuperTalk, Mississippi. With us on the line still is Congressman Trent Kelly from Mississippi's 1st Congressional District. Congressman, I want to talk for a second about the Secret Service director. Can you believe that it took her that long to resign?
Listen, she should have resigned immediately. It's a failure. Every other Secret Service director in recent memory who has had an incident happen that they were responsible for resigned. She didn't, refused, said she accepted responsibility, but really didn't, kept trying to blame it on someone else. Never visited the site, at least not before she went to the hearing there on Capitol Hill. It was an epic failure. It was, It was so reckless in the lack of planning, the lack of execution. And listen, I'm a military guy and understand this stuff, but you can assign responsibility, but you cannot assign accountability. And literally, like, that was in the inner cordon, and they can try to blame that on local police or local authorities and all that. But at the end of the day, that's in the inner cordon. That should have been Secret Service folks on that roof with at least oversight. You know, isn't it amazing that an 18, 19-year-old kid who tries to kill a president has a drone up doing surveillance, and we have the best-funded law enforcement agency in the world that does not have a drone on site? Isn't that amazing?
It's unbelievable. And she never could give
failure.
There was no explanation. That was part of what I found so bothersome. There was never, in that oversight hearing, you never got some sort of cogent explanation from her on why it happened. That why those choices were made.
Lucien, in the law, I was an old district attorney, and some acts are so negligent and reckless that they're considered intentional.
Right.
That's how bad that the Secret Service plan there was. It was so reckless and negligent that it was intentional in nature by the way that they performed their duty. There is no way you allow someone on a rooftop, an elevated platform, within 130 yards of the former president of the United States, current candidate for president, and that you allow them 2 minutes or in excess of 2 minutes when you know they're out there and they do nothing to stop this guy.
And you have, as I appreciate it, spectators and local law enforcement that were signaling that something strange was going on there, that they'd seen him with a rangefinder and whatnot, and you didn't, that you would think that they would have stopped the event or sent somebody to find the guy.
Well, I was watching news yesterday, and I was listening to them talk about, they'll take up your vape stick, which I don't vape, but they'll take up your vape stick, they'll take up your lipstick case, purse is too big, but we're going to let a guy walk in with a rangefinder. Think about that. That's
crazy.
Absolutely. What purpose do you have for a rangefinder at a political rally other than to see how far a target is?
That's right. That's right. And it's also amazing to me that it was so close. I mean, it wasn't like he was on a roof 1,000 yards away. 150 yards is a shot. I mean, a deer hunter would be happy to take.
I'm a deer hunter. If I miss at that range, man, you need to take my rifle away.
That's exactly right. It's absurd. The thing I was so struck by in that oversight hearing, it seems to me, and you're obviously the expert here, but so often, especially with the Democrats, when they get in these oversight hearings, it's all about making a political point for the cameras, and whatever the topic is, they're just trying to push their message. When you've got Ro Khanna and AOC grilling a Democratic appointee, something's going on.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I'm glad she resigned. I don't think she had any options, and it took 11 days or 10 days. She should have resigned long before that, the day of. But, they do that by turning points. I mean, it's like they want to talk about we're a threat to democracy because we actually have those democracy and we vote for our candidate and we nominate our president. And they just anoint theirs, I guess. 14 million votes don't matter. We're not going to go through the process. We're just going to anoint Kamala Harris as our person when the president who is unfit to run for office again. I say he's unfit to serve, but that's something that has to be done another way. But I mean, listen, just anoint him. I mean, no process. Just we say you're the king and you're the king. I mean, how is that democracy?
Yeah, exactly. After they've lectured us, I remember, and it's been in the last month, CNN running a piece where they went out and interviewed people at a Trump rally and asked them if we were a democracy, or not, and people kept saying, oh, well, we're a republic. We elect our leaders, and they then make the choices. And CNN had some dark tone to it about how this was the end of democracy. And now we're being told, well, primary voters don't really matter. Really, it's the delegates who choose the nominee. That's how it works. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's the same thing, Lucien, with political violence. Listen, I had a crazy guy that was spun up by Bernie Sanders try to shoot and kill me and
Exactly.
his police and several others. And then we have the assassination attempt on President Trump. We have over and over where they actually execute political violence, but we're the violent party. But we're the ones getting shot at. They're the ones shooting, but they're calling us the violent party.
That's exactly
and listen,
right.
There's no place for political violence in anything, and having been on the receiving end of gunfire here in this nation. Listen, they need to tone down their rhetoric, but we are not the party against democracy. We are the party that is for democracy and a republic and a representative form of government, and they just want to put their people in at all costs, and it's all by the elites. They want to call us the elites. They're the elites. They're the one who have the Hollywood actors and the billionaires and the elitists, and they try to turn that around, but we are the party of the people.
Some of this political violence that's coming from the left seems to me, and this isn't a good thing, but it's almost inevitable based on their rhetoric. I mean, if they're telling people that we're going to destroy democracy and there'll never be another free, fair election again, it seems to me it's almost inevitable somebody's going to say, well, gosh, I got to go kill some of these people because I want to live in a free country.
Well, listen, I've been in Congress for 9 years, and I've never once heard anybody say anything on the Republican side about cutting Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. Not once. Yet Bernie Sanders, the guy who tried to assassinate me and hit Scalise, that guy right there was spun up because Bernie told him we were going to cut off his Social Security and his Medicare. So that is what spun him up, that crazy rhetoric. And so he felt a call to action to go execute Republicans on a baseball field. It's the same way with this. I don't know what radicalized this guy who decided to shoot the president. It may have just been because he wanted to be famous. But that rhetoric has consequences. It causes people a call to action when you say, it's the end of democracy, we have to do something. People take that literal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it is dangerous.
It is very dangerous.
Here, you're close to this, being in Congress. The president, who's running the White House? Because it sure doesn't seem like it's the president of the United States.
This is the third president that I've had contact with, and he has been to the House to meet with Republicans, I think, 0 times. He's been only once or twice. It's been almost 2 years since he's been over to talk to the House side, even the Democratic House side. Listen, I don't know who's running it. It's probably the same advisors and folks, but who knows who's running it? He's definitely not. I mean, his own spokesperson said he works from 10 to 4. Wouldn't you like to have a job where you work 10 to 4 every day? And
Exactly.
That's only 5 days a week because he's on vacation at some place the other times. But 10 to 4, you can't run a nation from 10 to 4. You need, 4 in the morning until 10 at night, maybe.
Well, that's the thing. It's my theory is that it's been kind of, you've seen Dianne Feinstein's probably the most recent example of this. These senators who get so old they don't really know what's what, and they start to have decline. You got staffers who walk around. Well, that's not good when it's a member of the U.S. Senate or a member of Congress. But if China invades Taiwan in the middle of the night, somebody's got to wake the president up and see what the choice is. It can't be some 27-year-old staffer making these kind of choices for the country.
I know, but Lucien, it's worse than that. Think about it. Our Secretary of Defense went and had surgery and was out of the process for almost 72 or 96 hours, and nobody knew where he was. Nobody even knew he was missing.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Listen, so if they want to talk about how well run their administration is, one hand's not talking to the other, and there's an elite group of people up there who are unelected who are running this country right now, and I promise you they do not have democracy and a republic and America and our border and all those things. They don't have the right things in mind, but it is not the elected officials in that administration that are running it. It is the unelected bureaucrats.
Well, I hope there'll continue to be a real look at that, an investigation into it, because a lot of people had to know. There have to be a lot of staffers who've known he's not really running it. The vice president, who's now their candidate for president, did she know the president wasn't really all there?
But, the one thing I will say, though, Lucien, as much as I'd like to see him go and as much as I think he's incompetent to run the White House, I actually think if we remove him, we get in a worse spot with what we've got now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think elevating Kamala Harris to be president of the United States, we saw with her meeting with Netanyahu. She comes out of that and literally goes after our friends while elevating our enemies.
It's unbelievable. We got about 30 seconds left, Congressman. You got any final thoughts?
I don't, man. I hope to see some of y'all in the Neshoba County Fair. If you haven't ever been, you need to go, and if you have, you know why you need to be there.
That's the truth. Well, Congressman Trent Kelly has been our guest. Thank you, Congressman, for taking the time, and thanks for all the good work you do for the people in your district and the state.
Thanks, Lucien.
You have a good one.